Hey guys, and welcome back to the channel. So today I wanted to talk about a critical survival tool that you need in Korea, or something that Korean people often refer to as a necessary part of the culture called nunchi. Essentially, it just means eye power or eye check. It's nonverbal communication, it's emotional intelligence, it's reading the room. A lot of the times if you ask Korean people to explain it, they're like, well, I don't know if I can explain it, and they try to make it into some sort of really complicated thing that it really isn't. It's not that complicated, but the application of it can be super complex. So let's get into it. So if you ask a Korean person, what is nunchi? They may say, oh, it's the Korean people's way of knowing what other people think so that we can maintain social harmony, and it's a way of our ability to be considerate of others. That is the PR whitewashed version of it. The way that it is usually practiced and applied in this rough, brutal, modern age is that it's actually quite a selfish survival mechanism that you really need, because you have to be able to assess what is going on in the jungle without somebody telling you what's going on. So we're going to talk about this in the positive way and in the negative way, and actually how you can use this no matter what country you're in, because this does operate on a human level, on a societal level, no matter where you are. And sometimes, I think it's overdone in Korea, but then when I go into an American context, I'm like, dang, these people need to get their nunchi game up, because there's all sorts of just clumsiness going on. And so even I sometimes think oh, okay, this can be really useful for people to, navigate through society. And shout out to Yoonhee Hong, who's written a book geared towards the American audience on this Korean concept. I know a lot of actual real Korean people have kind of taken some issue with the book, saying that it's not like a path to happiness, but that's probably just the way the publisher was trying to, market and sell the book. But the core concept, I think, does stand. So what are some of the ways to translate this concept of nunchi? Well, you could say that it's nonverbal communication, reading somebody's mind, body language, a vibe check, emotional intelligence, reading the room, power game. I like to say, just imagine you're in the court of Versailles and you gotta always be playing some sort of power game of flattery and gestures. And again, the whitewashed version is oh, we're doing it to maintain social harmony. So let's go over that positive part of social harmony. If you are actually among people who have good intentions, this is actually a great way of being on the same wavelength. When you're just saying oh, we all just vibe together. We don't have to, say everything, because, we're all just on the same page. We all know without saying it what everybody is thinking, feeling, anticipating other people's needs, and we just kind of all click and get along. And so in that way, a lot of that is nunchi. When you walk into a room and you can, because you either know the people in advance, oh, I already know, even if they said don't bring anything to the dinner party, I know, my friend is gonna love it if I bring a casserole. Or on the opposite, nunchi is oh, I know my friend really loves to be the star of the dinner party, so when she says don't bring anything, I better not bring a thing, because we all want to, say like how great her food is. That kind of stuff is nunchi, and that is like, a built-in type of community thing. And, you're reading the room, it's emotional intelligence, it is maintaining social harmony, and everybody is vibing. When you're in a situation where it's, not friends, it's like a lot of the times in the office, similar situation could apply. If you have a boss that has to be the star of everything, then you act accordingly and you adjust your behavior, your posture, even though, like not everybody is saying like, this is what you have to do. Or if it's a situation where you have to do a lot of inputs and you have to speak up, or if you feel like, oh, you got to cover their butts, you step in. If you're not supposed to step in because you're not supposed to outshine the person, then you don't. So you're reading the room, you're being emotionally intelligent, and you're always kind of like gauging your response as kind of like a member of a team. In a way, it's extreme teamwork. It's being very hyper vigilant of your environment. And in that way, it's a very positive thing because everybody is hyper considerate of each other. Now, this is where nunchi these days, because there are so many abusive people in the workplace and in society, where people in Korea just get so burdened by nunchi, and actually nunchi has such a negative connotation now, is that you actually have to read the room in terms of what? Power dynamics and your place in the pecking order, and how much abuse you're supposed to put up with. Now, this is why then people hate nunchi. It's like, oh, the boss deliberately is going to get really mad if I don't leave after him, and he really has no place to go. Ugh, nunchi. Oh, the boss really doesn't want to go home to his very bad family life, and he wants to go out for drinks, but he has nobody else to go out to drinks with, and he wants to use the company card and pretend it's a team dinner, and he wants to rope us in, and I'm kind of forced to go. Ugh, that's nunchi. And so people are really burdened by this now. They don't really like this whole nunchi thing, or like, if somebody says like, oh, you don't have to come to my wedding and you don't have to give me any kind of, money, but no, you gotta go. And so that is kind of like where it gets to be a social burden that people don't like. Now, where can nunchi be extremely critical and valuable for your own survival? I'll give you one example. So when I was working at that broadcasting station, one of many, so don't try to pinpoint which one, but remember the one that I told you where that crazy co-anchor who put all those pins and needles on the floor under my chair during a live broadcast? Yeah, the same one. She tried to set me up to get reamed at a group lunch. And I had not realized that she had set me up to walk into a lion's den that she had. I don't think she had set it up way in advance. I think she was able to capitalize on a situation, and she invited me what looked like at the last minute, which is why I didn't think it was so suspicious, because if she had planned this out so far in advance, then it could be more suspicious. But if it was last minute, then I mean, what kind of stunts could she be pulling? But it seemed as if she knew, like, oh, she had her allies, up at the VP level and at the manager level, and that she had whispered in their ears that there was like some sort of tension between us, and that she was probably trying to get them to publicly attack me at this lunch. And then so I didn't know this, but then my nunchi you know? Basically, you could kind of think of it as a sixth sense. You can kind of read the room. Oh, this started to look a little suspicious. So where does this nunchi start to then go into effect where you can use it to your advantage? Well, I realized, because this was like some Korean restaurant where you had to sit on the floor. There was a long table. There were probably like 15 people there. It was not just managers. It was camera people. It was also some producers. So this would have been like a real, like humiliating, like public kind of something. She was up to something. And I was like, okay, so she kind of situated herself a little bit towards the middle, right next to one of the managing producers. And then one of the VPs was sort of like also in the middle kind of power position. And I think they wanted to scoop me into sort of that kind of center area, but this is where you gotta use your brain. I put myself all the way towards the end near the door, where like if you really wanted to kind of talk it like you see how like the dynamics of the feng shui or the table, it doesn't work because like you're all the way over there. How can you start a conversation, especially a hostile one? You know, how can you start the small talk that leads into some sort of kind of heated debate? How can you bait somebody when they're all the way over there? And you know, I was kind of like this, you know, just like really pretending I was so into, it was so delicious, or I was so like maybe like not feeling well, or there was some stuff going on, especially as the lunch was underway. It was lunch and they were ordering alcohol, and then I could see out of the corner of my eyes, this is nunchi. You gotta use your eyes when you're like pretending you're not looking. And I could see like the VP dude like felt uncomfortable, like he wanted to say stuff. The conversation started to kind of stilt, like it was supposed to go somewhere. That's also nunchi. It's like, there's supposed to be a discussion, but somebody is not bringing something up. There is some sort of lingering thing that's not being said. That's nunchi. They started to order alcohol. This was sort of a shady company, so like some people would drink at work lunch, but still, that was a little odd. Also nunchi, why do you need liquid courage? And the way that they were drinking it was not like they were in some celebration of something, and there was no reason for the alcohol, and the way that they were drinking the alcohol was like, let's try to get some courage for this. I don't know if this is the right thing to do, because you could also tell that they weren't quite sure whether to believe this girl, whether that actually, should we side with this girl? We don't really know. Like they were, I think, also debating in their mind whether this was a smart thing for them to do. And so there was this lingering kind of stalemate. Then, what really gave it away, this is also nunchi, is when that hoe, let's call her a hoe, cause she a hoe. She like was kind of right next to the managing producer, I'll call her, and she was also another lady. So she was, you know, doing all sorts of kind of like body, like maybe she was holding her hand or something. I'm just saying that she was another woman, so she was, you know, it was like socially acceptable for her to like hold her hand or something like that. And then she was kind of like, you know, being like, come on, like, you know, say something, because the lunch was sort of ending and the window was closing, and I can also nunchi. I was like, window is closing, you know, like, okay, we're wrapping up. And so like I was also trying to contribute to the atmosphere, like, okay, we're like kind of done with lunch now. And nothing was said. And I could also feel that there was relief in the room. that people are just like, oh, okay, all right, let's just let this pass because, so like nobody wanted to be the first person to bring this uncomfortable situation up, whatever it was, because they're probably thinking like this crazy girl is like, what grounds does she have? And just like in there, you'll read a lot of these things in nunchi about like, oh, people don't want to take the last piece of food. Similar on the opposite end, people don't want to be the first one to bring up an uncomfortable subject. And so if you feel like somebody has trapped you into the lion's den like that, then know that there is going to be an uncomfortable situation for the attacker to bring it up first. So you can use that also to your advantage. So I also wanted to confirm, because, part of this whole nunchi thing is that there is a gray zone of doubt, because I was just like, wow, is this what I thought it was? Because I think I just saved my career here. I literally think that I went into one of the most dangerous, highly charged battles ever over like a $5 bowl of rice in my life. And so we were on the street, and it was walking distance back to the office. And I think people were like separating. Some people were going to go get coffee or whatnot. And then some people were going to go back. And I saw that VP, because he was basically going to, if somebody was going to say something first, it was going to be that VP. And I looked at him straight in the eye. And because, I wouldn't be seeing him in the office, he's going to go way up to the executive levels. And, the polite thing is like, you have to like, inside, you have to bow, say like, oh, 잘 들어가세요, like, depart. But I did a gangster insa, because I was just like, interesting. Like, this guy almost like attacked me. So I don't know. It was just instinctual, but I was just like, you got some leverage? I got some leverage. You want to play? We can play next time. And so I think he got the hint, because, who does that? I was surprised I did that. And that, in a way, also is nunchi, because that was a very, very, very aggressive move on my part. Some would say that's very insubordinate, but that's also nunchi. It's not me going up to him and being like, can we have a chat? Can we talk about this? What was that going on right there? Like, it's not that kind of direct thing. It was So, that is nunchi, right? That was like a non-verbal cue. Like, you want to try to attack me? Be ready for what I can do to you. But I'm going to still respect you, just in case it wasn't what I thought it was. But don't think I'm that blind that I didn't see what just occurred. So that is nunchi, y'all. So the explanation of it is simple, but in practice, it is, like I said, it is like literally living in the Palace of Versailles. It is warfare out there, you guys. And that, in a nutshell, is like these rough and tumble days of living in Korea, what you gotta go through, and why this core concept of nunchi is very important, why it's super cool and good if you're with like people you're vibing with, and why it is horrendous if you have to just suffer through like injustice that you can't do anything about and you can't even say anything back. That's the worst part. but the part where it's actually useful and what you can do to work back towards your advantage are the silent weapons that you can use back in a smart way once you've learned how to use it in the right doses at the right moments. And of course, that requires a lot of practice and starts and fits and, experimentation. So guys, that's Nunchi. If you want to check out the book, I will put a link down below. Put down your experiences with Nunchi, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll talk to you next time. Bye-bye.
Tune in next time. Don't forget to subscribe. Find us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Love you.